Okay, so last time we created a little quiz using Google Docs in their form tool, and we delivered that, and I went ahead and simulated 3 responses to my quiz. Today we're going to look at the data, and I'll also show you how to get the spreadsheet to grade it for you. So we made a post-World War II quiz. I'll go ahead and click on that, and we'll open the sheet. And you see it gives me the responses. What is your name? I have Bob, Jim, and Sue. And then I had their answers to their 2 questions. Okay, so now I want to set up Google Docs to grade this for me. So I'm going to start with Bob. Now in order to do this, I want to create a blank line underneath Bob. So I'm going to click on my 3 column. Notice I clicked on 3, or sorry, that's a row. Right click, and I'm going to do insert one above. So that gives me a blank line here between Bob and Jim's answers. Now I'm also going to want to have a total, and I'm going to name my total right up here. That way I have my column labeled. And then we're going to use some tools in the spreadsheet to get the total. Okay. Now the first thing we want to do is figure out if this answer is correct. So I'm going to start with a if statement. So I'm going to do equals, because all spreadsheets, when you start a formula, you start with equals. I'm going to do capital IF for if. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do parenthesis, and I need to say what I want to check. So I want to check on cell B2, which is the one right above it. So I'm going to say if B2, I'm going to say if that equals, and I need to do their answer exactly. So one way is I could type it and do it as close as possible. The other way is I can actually hit enter and get out of my formula. It's going to throw me an error. And I'm going to go ahead and delete my if statement. This is good. You'll be able to review it anyway. I want to copy the text of this cell exactly. So I'm going to highlight it and copy it. That way I know that I type it exactly the same. So I'm going to go right under it, and I'm going to start with equals, because all formulas begin with equals. Then I'm going to do capital IF, and I'm going to start with my parenthesis, and I'm going to say cell B2. I could just click on it, and then I'm going to equals. And since I wrote the text exactly as I want the answer, I can do quotation marks, and I can it didn't like my use of arrows. Okay, do my quotation mark. I'll go ahead and paste in my answer. And now that I have my quotes, if it equals that, then I can do a semicolon. And what I do now is how many points I want to assign that correct answer. So if they chose that one, I'm going to say that they get 5 points. And then I'm going to end parenthesis, and that's my formula. If I hit enter, you see they got a 5 because that's the right answer. Okay, so now we want to do basically the same formula for this cell. So I'm going to double click this one and select all my text, copy it, go right underneath it, and I'm going to start with my formula. So equals, and I'm going to do capital IF, parenthesis, and this cell is C2. I could just click on it if I wanted to. So C2. I'm going to say if it equals, and then I need to do my first quote, and I want to type it exactly as it was in the cell above. And since I copied it, I can just paste it with Control V as paste. Then I can do my end quote, space, semicolon, and I'm going to say this one's worth 5 points as well, and end the parenthesis. So you see it turned into a 5. Now for total, I'm going to go ahead and use the sum tool. You see it's sigma up there. I'm going to click total, sum, and now it's going to say of what. So I'm going to click and drag these 2 cells and hit enter. And you see 5 plus 5 is 10. So that would be Bob's total score on this quiz. Now, where it gets really neat is I can add lines underneath Jim and Sue. So I'll right click underneath Jim and I'll say insert one below. And now I don't have to redo that whole process since I set up my first one. I can click on the 3 on my row, right click, and then I'm going to copy that row. And now I'm going to click on row 5, right click, and I'm going to paste. And you see, automatically it used a similar formula to see if they got it right. If I double click here, you can see that now the formula says B4, which is the one right before it. And they didn't get it right, so it returned with false, but Jim got the next one right, so he got his 5 points there, so he got 5 out of 10 total. Let's go ahead and grade Sue's test. So I'm going to click on the row 7, right click, and I'm going to paste again. And Sue got the first question wrong, and the second question is false. Total score 5. I can grade a lot of tests very, very quickly this way. Thanks for listening and enjoy using Google Forms.